Law uno. Never outshine the master. Statement of the law. Always ensure that those in authority feel comfortable at the top. In an effort to please or impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents. Otherwise, you risk achieving the opposite, instilling fear and insecurity in them. Make your superiors appear more brilliant than they are, and you will achieve your goal. Breaking the law. Nicolas Fouquet, Minister of Finance in the early years of the reign of Louis XIV, was a generous man who adored glittering balls, beautiful women, and poetry. He also loved money, as his lifestyle required Fouquet was intelligent and utterly indispensable to the king. So when the first minister, Hugh, died in 1661, the Minister of Finance could have expected to succeed him. However, the king decided to abolish the post of Minister of Finance. For this and other reasons, Fouquet suspected he was falling out of favor and decided to try to curry favor with the king by throwing the most lavish celebration the world had ever seen. Officially, the festivities were dedicated to celebrating the completion of Fouquet's castle, Vaux-le-Vicomte. But the true purpose was to honor the king. To replace Fouquet, Louis appointed Jean-Baptiste, a man known for his stinginess and the most drab receptions in Paris. Colbert ensured that money flowed from the treasury directly into Louis's hands. With this money, Louis built a palace, even more magnificent than Fouquet's famous Palace of Versailles. He invited the same architects, decorators, and gardeners at Versailles. Louis hosted festivities that surpassed in splendor and brilliance, the one for which Fouquet had paid with his freedom. Let's consider the situation. That evening, when Fouquet amazed Louis with a cascade of spectacles, each one eclipsing the last, he imagined himself demonstrating his devotion and loyalty to the king. Not only did he not expect the festivities to deprive him of the king's favor, but he also believed that demonstrating his refined taste, connections, and popularity would make him indispensable to the king, and demonstrate what an excellent candidate for prime minister he was. In reality, however, each new spectacle, each enthusiastic smile on the faces of Fouquet's guests, aroused in Louis the suspicion that his own friends and subjects were more enchanted by the finance minister than by the king himself, that Fouquet had essentially stolen his wealth and power. Instead of flattering Louis XIV, Fouquet's elaborate feast wounded his pride and offended his royal dignity. Naturally, Louis would never have revealed the truth to anyone. Instead, he found a suitable pretext to rid himself of the man who, without intending to, had made him feel insecure, such as, in one form or another, the fate of all who shake their host's sense of security, wound his vanity, or make him doubt his superiority. When the feast began, Fouquet was on top of the world. By the end, he was at the bottom. Voltaire, 1694 a 1778. Abide by the law. In the early 1600s, the Italian astronomer and mathematician Galileo found himself in a delicate situation. His ability to conduct scientific research depended on the generosity of the powerful, and therefore, like all Renaissance scientists, sometimes give his inventions and discoveries to the most powerful patron. Once, for example, he presented the military compass he had invented to the Duke of Gun. He then dedicated a book explaining the device's operation to the House of Medici. While the rulers were flattered with their help, Galileo was able to find more students. Regardless of the significance of a discovery, patrons typically rewarded the scientists with gifts. So what? In 1591, on Hideyoshi's orders, he was arrested and sentenced to death. Rikyū managed to commit suicide. The reason for this abrupt change of fortune was revealed later. Apparently, Rikyū, formerly a peasant, and then a favorite at court. Commissioned a wooden statue depicting himself in a regal pose, wearing sandals, a symbol of aristocratic status. He ordered the figure placed in the most important shrine inside the palace gates, within view of the royal family, who often strolled nearby. For Hideyoshi, this meant that Rikyū lacked a sense of proportion, imagining himself equal to the highest nobility. He forgot that his position depended on the emperor, and believed that he owed everything to himself alone. This was an unforgivable overestimation of his own importance, for which he paid with his life. Remember, never relax, thinking your position is unshakable, and never allow any favors shown to you to fall on your own head. Knowing the dangers of overshadowing your master, you can turn this law to your advantage. Above all, you must flatter and inflate your master's ego. Overt flattery can be effective, but it has its limits. It is too direct and obvious, and it looks bad in the eyes of other courtiers. If, for example, you are smarter than your master, try to make it appear the opposite. Give him the opportunity to appear smarter than you. Feign naivety. Show that you need his experience. Allow harmless mistakes that will not harm you in the future, but will allow you to turn to him for help. Masters love such requests. A master, deprived of the opportunity to pour out the treasures of his experience on you, may instead direct his anger and resentment at you. If you are more creative than your master, attribute your ideas to him publicly, if possible. Make it clear that your recommendations are merely an echo of his.